First of all, Bob, just to explain the 5 players that I chose.
Okay, game.
I chose because I think these 5 players come from the top 5 teams of the league. I think that the 5 teams who have a legitimate shot of going all the way.
Right,
so I think you're only a must-watch player pagdating sa quarterfinals if you can go all the way to the championship. So these to me are the 5 key players to watch for the 5 teams that I think have a legitimate shot of winning it all.
Right.
And then going to Scotty.
We begin with Scotty. Okay.
Well, Scotty he's the MVP.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the MVP, not just the MVP, face of the league for sure. Itong si Scotty, he can make a rebound exciting. You know, he does so many things on the floor. Timing is perfect, and he plays both ends, offense and defense. And the impact that he has with the Ginebra team, a lot of their guards are not that young anymore. L.A. and Stanley Pringle. So he's really the heart and soul of Ginebra right now. And Ginebra lost that game, game 1 against Meralco, even though Scotty played well. So it really means that Scotty has to do a lot more to bring his team to the semifinals.
We're not seeing yet the ceiling of this guy, in your opinion.
Oh, absolutely not. He's a hard worker. He came into the PBA as a role player.
Correct.
Practically a defender who gets some rebounds, cutting to the baskets, but not a pick and roll player for sure, not a shooter at all. But he's added on these things into his game the last couple of seasons until he became the MVP.
Okay.
And now, after an MVP season, he's still improving. So the sky's the limit for Scotty Thompson.
So we look forward to how he performs in their game number 2 this Friday. Let's move on to the next player on the list. Someone that he faced back in college, Gio Halalon of the Magnolia Hotshots.
To me, this was difficult, and it pains me a bit because I was choosing between Gio and one of my former players before in Mark Baroka. Because this to me is the best backcourt in the league.
Yeah.
They're undersized, but no mismatch problems for these two. And they defend so well, and they play well together. And when Paulie got injured, both of them started, and Magnolia is on an 8-game winning streak right now. But I think I favored Gio Halalon just a bit because he's the younger player. He will play more minutes probably in the when it comes deeper into the playoffs, and he's the more consistent player right now for the Magnolia Hotshots. And Gio, just like Scotty, takes also the best offensive player from the opposing side. He's such a wonderful defensive player, probably the best pagdating sa pressure defense in the league right now.
He's averaging a little over 13 points, a little over 6 rebounds, and 6 assists per game. But you mentioned Mark. How do they work together so well?
Mark and Scotty?
Yeah.
Number one, they're both very similar players kasi parehong two-way players, offense and defense. I think it's Mark who adjusts more. Because when Mark is playing... When Mark is playing with Paulie, he's more a facilitator. When Mark plays with Gio, ibang-iba talaga.
Right.
He looks to score.
Right.
And Gio leads the league in assists.
Right.
So when
6
Mark
per
is here
game,
playing with Gio, he plays more off-ball and then coming off screens. Of course, yung plays also ni Coach Chito changes when it's the two of them playing together. And he becomes a scorer. So it's Mark who assists, who is the one who adjusts, not really Gio.
At least you still showed some love to Mark. That was my point.
Okay, we can go to the next one on the list. This one, Awesome Newsome. Chris Newsome was proven to be a leader para sa Meralco Bulls. How is he a must-watch player?
Well, we saw that in that last in their win against Ginebra. Chris Newsome, he's undisputedly the leader of the team. He runs the offense, number 1. Number 2, defensively, he's also the anchor. Usually, just like Scotty, just like Gio Halalon, also takes on the best perimeter offensive player of the opposing team. So he can do everything. But the one that really has been lacking for Meralco in the previous conferences is really a go-to scorer. Who do they go to down the stretch? Alain is good, but sometimes inconsistent. Aaron is still young. Their bigs are not really offensive players. So I feel the guy who really has to take the next step for Meralco to beat the TNTs or the San Miguels of the world is Chris Newsome.
Yeah.
Because he's the guy. His jumper has improved tremendously. He can be the one who can hit the big shots, or when their other team is making a run, you need a basket.
Right.
They can go to Chris Newsome. I think that's the growth in his game has made him a go-to player as well on the offensive end. And if Meralco is going to take the next step and win a championship, it has to be through Chris Newsome.
There are players who are must-watch nung college pa lang and then must-watch na sa PBA. You mentioned si Scotty, di ba? Role player. Si Chris, sanay na tayo. He's always been must-watch.
Yeah.
Okay, the next player, obviously, Mikey Williams.
Mikey Williams is, well, hands down, the most
Right.
talented player
Right.
in the PBA right now. When Mikey is on, he does things on the floor that nobody else can do. If Mikey does what he did to Magnolia in the finals of the Philippine Cup last year, then game over. Bigay na natin yung championship sa TNT ulit. Because that was phenomenal. He was like scoring in the 30s. He was like playing as like an import pretty much in that conference. He had a slow start to this conference. He had
Yeah.
some contractual
right.
issues. That's done. I heard they signed yesterday or the
3
other
years.
day. 3 years.
So wala na bang distractions? Ganun ba? Is that what you're saying?
He responded with 22 points in the second quarter
Exactly.
today.
Okay.
You covered that
Which is the game
and,
you covered.
That's,
Yeah.
I think only Mike is the only player in the PBA who can do that right now. And when Mikey is hot, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So Chris Ross couldn't stop him. Baroka, Gio Lalon, the best defensive guards
Guards,
in the PBA,
yeah.
couldn't stop him last year.
Right.
It's gonna be the same thing if he's on. But sometimes he's not on. So those are the things. And of course,
Today he was.
He
Today-
was
today
definitely
he was.
on.
But you really have to scheme
Yeah.
against Mikey. He's the only one who can hit pull-up jumpers from 3, behind-the-back jumpers from 3. I mean, it's complete package, and he's truly one of a kind in the league right now.
And finally, in this list, yung nakarami na ng MVPs, of course, the Kraken, Junmar Fajardo for the San Miguel
Meron
Bears.
bang list na hindi siya pwedeng isama?
Hindi pwedeng hindi
Pwede,
isama si
hindi,
Junmar.
di ba?
And then San Miguel is the number 1
Correct, yeah.
seed right now, and rightfully so. Junmar is back. They don't even have a lot of their other players playing, like Terence, like Vic Manuel yet. But as long as Junmar is healthy and he's playing this way, any championship in the PBA Philippine Cup has to go through Junmar Fajardo. They've won this so many times. A bit of a different supporting cast right now, but Junmar is playing at an MVP level once again. We didn't see this on Junmar the last couple of seasons. So
Yeah.
I think San Miguel is still the odds-on favorite because of what Junmar can do. There's nobody in the league who can match up with Junmar one-on-one. You really have to double team Junmar.
And you said the operative thing there also. He's doing it with different casts.
Yes.
Of characters around him, and he's still the same guy.
And he's adjusted. And when he was
Exactly.
playing with Arwin, most of the time he was just in the low block because Arwin could hit from the outside. Now he's playing with Vic Manuel or Rodrigo Brindel, who are not outside shooters. Junmar, you can see a lot more pick and roll action. He shoots more 15-footers or 16-footers. So he has also adjusted his game to after so many years of just playing in the low block.